Hello everyone, Oregon Moto John here. I'm excited to put some Fastway foot pegs on my motorcycle here, my dirt bike, my Husky 350. Kind of an interesting story. I've always pretty much run the stock foot pegs, which work fine. But this KTM 300 that I got used came with these Fastway foot pegs. And you know what? I really like them. You can change out these little cleats. You can change the height of them. You can put this bushing in a forward or backward position to move these to the standard height or a little lower. And even though I'm short, I kind of like the lower position. It just feels more comfortable and relaxed while I'm riding. You know, so it gives you a little bit of a position you can experiment. It actually makes it easier for me to stand up because it's just, you can be going around a corner or something and it's just easier to get the weight, even if you just create a few millimeters of pressure off your seat to put it through the foot pegs. The bike just seems to handle better, so at times. So I really like them. I didn't think I would. Actually, I even, truth be told, I took them off. I went back to stock because I've always ran stock foot pegs, and within one ride I had them back on. So that should tell you something. And this comes from a guy who's always run stock foot pegs. So let me show you how this works, because at first, because this knew they come with instructions or a website you can go to, but used it didn't, and so I kind of struggled a little bit with these at first, but now I've got them figured out. So here's what we got. We have the Evo 4 Air Fastway foot pegs. These are the Evo 4 foot pegs. They're different because they have the little set screw that adjusts camber. The Evo 4 Air has it on the top, and the Evo 4 has it on the back side. So just look what works best for your application. I think they'd both work on a KTM. I'm pretty sure they would. And then you have to buy the fit kit. So cons are they're kind of expensive. So there's that, and you have to buy the fit kit separate, which is just really these little bushings and washers and the screws. So not a big deal. It's like 20 bucks. So comes with your springs, comes with washers and a screw to adjust the camber, and these reversible bushings to mount it in the high position or low position. Your springs you'll need. You'll be reusing your old screws, or excuse me, pins for your foot pegs, or I got new ones here so I don't have to mess with the cotter pin, these guys, but it comes with those, which is nice. I've used those plenty of times. And then a tool to press the bushing into the foot peg, which requires hardly any force at all. And then two sizes of set screws to go into these. I've used the shorter ones because, in my opinion, for what I'm doing, they're plenty high. But you could also put the longer ones in for more bite. And these can be swapped out with spikes or kind of these little round ones with you know, I might try those sometime. Here's where you'd go for instructions. pnbhowto.com for the Fastway foot pegs. So there's where you'd go. And then these are the Evo 4 22505 foot pegs. So actually these are the Evo 4. And what's interesting, maybe they changed their design. Maybe this is the new design. But anyway, be that as it may, this is what we're doing today. And here's the way this works: is you have this goes in on your bike, and then to adjust how much camber, I haven't set this screw yet. I wanted to show you how it just screws in. To adjust the camber, how it's sitting on the bike up or down, you just adjust this little set screw right here. And so it's pretty easy. And then the kit comes with all these little washers, so you just add or take away washers. I'm gonna do one or two because I like my foot pegs pretty flat or just a slight camber. That's what feels good to me. But if you wanted more up tilt, you would just add more screws. And so it's pretty easy to do. You just add or take away screws. You test fit to your bike. And I'm just loosely putting this in for now. And then you can see that would push on the frame and push these up a little bit. Or you'd take away one and it would go more flat. So let's go ahead and install these bushings into here. And you can use this little tool. This just would fit fit in here, and I'm going to put them in the lower position, so this is going to go in the front. And you can use this tool. This will go in the end, and the foot pegs come with this, and you could just put it in a vise, squeeze in, or you could probably just lightly tap it in. So I'm going to go ahead and put those in each foot peg. If I wanted it in the stock position, I would put this in the from the back side here. And then when that goes on the bike, the foot peg would retain the stock position. So I'll show you how that plays out on the bike in a moment. Instructions don't say to do this, and you wouldn't need to, but I just put a little grease. You know, took some grease and I put it around this collar here so that if I ever change my mind on foot position, it won't be that hard to do. And that shows you how easy it goes, that I can almost do it by hand, but not quite. So I'll put this little bushing in the end, or this little, I guess, collared punch, and then I'll just tap that in with a hammer, but you could use a vise. So I'm putting these soft jaw little inserts into my vise so I don't damage that. Let's see. Soft jaws for black. JCL product vise jaws. And as you can see, these are magnetized. I've had these for a while, and it just clicks in there. And then I got kind of more of this hard plastic, so it's not going to mar the foot peg surface. And I just position this in the vise, and now you can see I can just tighten it down, and it's going to squeeze that collar into place. And then there it is. It's tight and not coming out, and it's pressed up against the foot peg, so we'll do the other side. And this is the left side of the bike and the right side of the bike if we were looking forward. And so this will put these in the low position by putting this bushing here. If I wanted the foot pegs to be installed in the stock position, I would put this on the back side. This would be the left foot peg. So here we go. You just slip that collar in there. And I am putting grease on that collar, like I said, to maybe if I wanted to take it out later, might make it easier if I wanted to switch them around, the height. So let's press that one in just like we did the other side. I tried using a dead blow hammer and that little punch device, and it wasn't going to go in. It does, the vise is, in my opinion, works better. You could probably beat on it real hard and get it in there, but a vise, there's no beating, so I used a vise. Okay, there we are. Both collars are pressed in. That's all there is to that. I'm going to put some washers on this screw and put that in there. And then let's go to the bike and test fit. So here we go. Here's how it's all set up now. I have the springs on, the bushings pressed in for the low position, 2 washers in here. I may go 1. This will set these pretty flat. So, and then I put the screws in before I started the video because you guys didn't need to watch all that. You just put a drip of red Loctite on the threads, and then you just screw those in. And it comes with the right wrench, but most of us would have that anyway, but it's nice it came with it. Yeah, so they're ready to go on the bike. I always use a little grease on the pins that go through the foot peg. It just seems to make life easier during the install, but you don't need to do that. And you can reuse your stock pins. You don't have to buy new ones. I just bought the new ones, so if I want to remove these, I can, you know, it's easier than dealing with these little guys later. So we're doing the right side. You can see how I have this oriented for the low position on the right side. I already removed the stock foot peg. I used some wire cutters to cut the little pin off, and then I just kind of pushed it through. Sometimes lubing that pin first with some WD-40 can make the little cotter pin come out. Here's the old one. I could reuse that, but in this case I'm going to use this different pin with that's threaded on the back. So basically this will just kind of push on, and this spring will go there. So I'm going to push on and then feed this through with the threads to the back. They say in some cases you can trim this a little bit, but I test fitted it and I think it'll go on fine without cutting it. But if you need to cut it to get it out of the way, you can trim this plastic a little bit. So here I am at the mid installation point. So once again, you can see if I took this bushing and flipped it around, this would move the pegs to the stock height, or in this case it's lowered and it's just slightly back. And I just put a little dab of grease on this because when you push this on, you're sliding that spring over that, and I didn't want to lose any more paint than I needed to. And as I pushed that in, I just relocated that. So now I'm gonna push on this foot peg and wiggle it, and you could use a screwdriver or something to help align this backside if you wanted to. Wouldn't be a wrong thing to do. Okay, so with just a little wiggling, I kind of wiggled this foot peg as I lightly tapped on that and pushed on it with my finger. It went through. Now we got the threads back here, and I'm just going to put this has a lock nut on, nylon lock nut on it. I'm just going to screw that in. And I don't know, I don't do this with all my bikes, but I saw these at Slavens Racing when I was ordering these, and I'm not affiliated with Slavens Racing anyway. And it's just easier that if I ever want to sell the bike and I swap those out, then it's just easier. I don't have to get out dikes and cut off the old cotter pin and try to drive it out and mess with all that. I just get a 13 millimeter and unscrew it. But on my 300, I did reuse this. We would put this pin through, and then you would put the stock washer on this backside, and then you put your cotter pin through. Here's the stock washer that would go on the bottom side. On the kickstand side, you would go through from the bottom up, so that the kickstand, this will stick out too far, it will hit. So there it is. And then as far as how does it look, the camber is just maybe slightly up. I do like my foot pegs flat. I don't know, I might try those. I'm almost tempted to take one of the washers out now. Sorry about all the Christmas stuff in the background there, but see, this is the stock side on the left. You can see the upward tilt. And then on this other side, you can see it's about the same as stock with 2 washers in that screw. So maybe I'll leave it, ride it, and if I like it, I'll leave it. If I don't, I can flatten those out. On my 300, I think I've got it a little bit flatter, and I liked how that felt. So they're a little bit flatter on their camber. So maybe I will leave that upward tilt. Maybe I won't even notice. But that'll be close to stock, so I think I'll leave the 2 washers in for now. And there's the camber that I'm talking about. It's very mild, and it looks to me about the same as stock. Maybe that's a pro to using these. A threaded pin is if I do want to change that, it's real easy for me to pull this off, pull the pin out, change the washers, and slap it back together without messing with those little pins. Okay, so now we just thread this on. This end takes a 12 millimeter and this one takes a 13. And I tried putting the washer on there, and it really is a little bit thick. This nut has a washer kind of in a sense built into it, so you don't need the stock washer from that pin. And then you're just going to lightly snug this up. It has a lock washer, so you're not trying to bend your tabs here. Just lightly snug it up and you're done. So here it is, the pin on the other side, where you put the side with the cotter pin forward so that your kickstand can come around and doesn't get otherwise this will stick out too far, and then you'll have to flip that around. On the right side, you can, people put them in the other way. So here, this is the right side installed. It works fine. It doesn't abut the plastics in a way that's a problem. But check your application, and no, they look good. I think they're gonna work great. But on this other side, I'll flip this around with this nut facing forward so it doesn't abut the kickstand like I was showing you on the KTM. The main reason for using these screws is to get these cotter pins out. It's always kind of a pain. You have to stick a screwdriver in here and pry this out, and then you can, there we go. I got it started. Now you can use a needle nose and bend it out some more. A little tip is to, sometimes when you're prying on this, this thing will spin, but you can apply pressure to the pin by going back or forward with your other hand as you're prying on this, and then that'll help you to where this won't spin as much, and you can get those tabs bent out. And then many times I'll use a dike wire cutter, a higher leverage one, Even a higher leverage one than that would be better. And then I'll just either cut the head off or the ends off, or I'll grab it and pry it out. But these work pretty good. With needle nose, I tend to slip off and bark my fingers and my knuckles, and I've used vice grips, but it seems like dikes work pretty good. And just getting in here and prying, you can kind of pry out against the foot peg to get that out. And then I'll usually use a needle nose to bend these tabs as straight as I can, and sometimes I'll even squirt a little WD-40 on there to, you know, help lubricate it to where it will slide out a little easier. So that's how you would, and then you just simply remove the pin at the back. So here we are. I've got those, you know, lower parts of the cotter pin straightened, and I think I'm just going to take some dikes and cut it off here and see if I can pull it out that way, or you could cut it here and try to go out that way. You could do it either way. So here we are. I just nipped these, after I straightened them, I nipped these ends off, and I'm going to try getting my dikes on here and just leveraging that out. Maybe I'll spray it with a little WD-40 first to just help it slip out of there. So now I'm just inchworming this thing out by grabbing it and then leveraging it, and then grabbing it again and leveraging it out. And I've almost got it out. Grabbing it again, pulling it out, biting up on it again, a little leverage. There it is, it's out. So now it's just a matter of pulling this pin out, and this foot peg will come off. And that's the main reason I'm using these little, you could use any one you want, foot peg pins, pair, stainless, KTM. Sound like a Jeff Slavens commercial. I did get these from Jeff Slavens Racing. You can see the part number there, S3ESK996. And then you don't have to mess with these. I do not like messing with these little pins. You always gotta like clip them and break them, and here I am. I had to cut the other side up getting it off, and most of the time you end up barking your knuckles on something, or scratching your finger on the end of the pin, and I don't know. Maybe it looks cleaner without the bolt, but or the nut on the end of the pin, but I think it's worth it, especially if you sell the bike. Now maybe you don't want to let your nice pegs go, so now you got to do it again, swap them off. So here's the left side foot peg with a bushing in the lower position. And I just started this. This is going to go the opposite direction as the other way, so the kickstand, when it comes around, has a place to go and countersink into there. The nut, or even with the cotter pin, it's too bulky, always put that forward on the left side. And I'm just going to keep pressing this through as I'm kind of just wiggling and aligning this front edge. And I did use some grease on that pin first just to make that go a little better. This tip has nothing to do with the foot pegs, Fastway foot pegs, but the little threaded pin that I'm putting in, there's a shoulder here, so you can't just beat this in with a hammer. I mean, you could as you're wiggling if you had a second person to help you, but you don't want to bend this tab. So I just kept wiggling this around as I was pushing this through, wiggling with the foot peg with my left hand as I push this through with my right hand, and it does pop through. So just get this flush over here, but don't beat on it. You might get lucky and get it in, but it doesn't take a lot of force once this lines up. Now we'll just put that nut on. Okay, there it is installed. Good to go. You know, you could argue that maybe the nut doesn't look as nice, but it's a lot easier, and you won't notice it. I don't think I'll notice it once it's on, or once it's been on a while. And this isn't sharp when you're washing the bike. You're not gonna, you know, catch yourself on this. And so I don't know. I think the pin is a good upgrade, as well as the foot pegs, but you don't need that. It is, you know, do you want to spend $30 on two pins? Something to think about. But anyway, there we have it. These do really have been grippy. I think I installed the lower pins because sometimes these even will tear up my boots a little bit, but not bad. At least they're not like some that are razor sharp. I don't like overly sharp foot pegs. You can kind of stick to them, and then they ruin the sole of your boots. So I hope this helps. I mean, yeah, they're nice foot pegs. And, you know, how do they look on the bike? I think they look good. Yeah, just a little upgrade. You could get colored ones, and they're, you know, a little more expensive, but I just like these. Yeah, so there they are on that bike, and also the 300. So hope this helps someone. I had a little bit of trouble when they came used on the bike, trying to figure out how those mounted up. I mean, I took them off, and I didn't quite get the whole bushing thing. And but there are 2 positions. I'm going with the low position, even though I'm shorter, because I like the ease of getting a little clearance underneath my seat when I'm riding, just to help with control the bike on trails and things. But it'll depend on what you're doing, where you want to put them. But it's pretty cool. You can experiment with the camber, as well as if you have them in a higher position or a lower position, or you camber them up or down or flat. So I think that's pretty. I think they're pretty cool. First, I wasn't sure about them, but now I actually like them. And main thing, get out there, ride, have fun, and enjoy your bike. Just a little tool tip here. I've used standard wire cutters for years for working on things, and they work good for most applications. But lately I've been cutting fuel line clamps and other things, and I got some 11-inch dikes at Harbor Freight that work great. And so just to give you, just having the extra leverage helps. You don't have to, you know, work so hard to get certain things off, and sometimes they're almost impossible if you don't cut them off, metal clips and things. So these standard ones are like 6.5 inches. I think this one is like 8.5. And then, like I said, I have another set that's 11, and they're sometimes a little too big, but but it's nice because it's not so hard on your grip. I mean, if you're super strong like me, you don't need these. I'm just kidding. That's why I have them. They're just, I need all the help I can get. So, yeah, that's something that I just actually, Taco Mike got me onto those, you know, getting some higher leverage wire cutters, and that was really, I wish I'd, anyway, getting on in years, and I had wished I had used these years ago. They're not an expensive thing. I think I picked these up on Amazon, and things that I worked so hard to get off with these. Why didn't I get something with higher leverage? I have no idea. But that's just a tip. Aside from the foot pegs, if you're still watching this video, hey, good job. You did good, because I know these aren't the most exciting. Another little tip, when I'm done removing something OEM off a bike, I'll throw it in there with the pins, the springs, everything, label it, and then I have a larger plastic container that I'll put it in, labeled for that bike, just a big clear storage bin. So then if I ever need to put these back on, I have them, or they can go to the previous owner. So, or just an organizational housekeeping tip that could help.